No, baby, no, this is not the part. What are you
This
talking
is the
about?
part. This is the part.
No,
In
it's
my
not.
book,
By the way, I'm a little hoarse. Don't do me, okay? Your nerves bad. A child is missing. What's the Tater Tots? It's your girl Tati back at another video. In this video, we have another book swap with the one and only Ronald. By the way, I'm a little hoarse. Don't do me, okay? I'm trying. Don't do me. But we picked the book Minion. Well, I picked the book Minion because it was my month to pick. So we're gonna get right into it, y'all.
before we get into this, I want to let y'all know that we are delving into this book. We going all up into it. So if that's not what you want, thanks for watching up to this point, and go ahead and feel free to click off here. And who knows? I mean, if you decide that once you read the book, you want to come back and you want to see if you agree or disagree with what I got to say and what she got to say, well, feel free.
But we warned you, because child, we talk about it. We getting into it.
So what was your rating on the book?
I'm in between. I think I'm gonna give it a 4.5. And the reason why I think I'm gonna give it a 4.5 is because I really want to be a hater and I really want to give it a 4. Because this book, it frustrated me at some parts. But I gave it, and then I'm like, this is really good to me. So is it really a 5? I don't really feel like it is a 5. So I'm giving it 4.25. What you gonna give it? Y'all know we might have the same. We might have this one might be way off. I don't know. We did get two different versions though. We did get two different versions.
Y'all, this is a 0. I'm playing. It's not a 0.
Jesus.
It's not a 0. I gave this a 3.75.
A 3.75. Okay, that's not bad.
Look, let me tell y'all something. And rest in peace to Miss L.A. Banks. Because for some reason, a lot of the authors we read tend to be dead.
Yeah, I don't know what that's about.
But may she rest in peace. But she had that 4 to that last chapter. She had that 4 to that last chapter.
That's what I said. Do I want to be a hater? Do I want to be a hater?
And we gonna discuss. We're gonna discuss. So, like Tati said, we got different versions. I got the special Huntress edition that says it includes all new scenes. And I think Tati just got like the version that when it first came out.
Yeah, I got the regular one. I didn't know we could even go back and make. She said, "Yeah, I'm gonna add a little details, some details they didn't let me add the first time since y'all asked
So
me."
I'm like, how did your book start? Mine started with the legend. Yeah. Okay. So my book, it starts with the legend, which basically explains the backstory of like the gigantic war and the Neteru and stuff like that. Basically, it like gives all the background of what we learned in the book, but at the beginning.
Yeah, it doesn't give me none of that.
So we can just start at the prologue.
So the beginning is basically it's a scene where this woman she already there?
Sarah?
Yeah, she's at the house.
Yeah, she's at the house.
Does he come in?
Yeah, she's at the house tending to her child, and
Yeah,
she concerned about her husband because she think her husband having an affair.
yeah, but I didn't know if he was in the house already or not. But all I know is baby girl went downstairs because she heard something. She looked in the door. She opened the door. It's a man. Her husband is there, and he's being tempted by a man. And the man happened to be foreign, I'm guessing, because she was stunned too. She was like, "Oh my goodness, not a man taking my man." So, he gets, and then they leave. Like I think something happens, and they run off and they leave. And the wife, she just distraught. She calls somebody to watch the baby because she's just distraught. Her husband is the pastor. Okay. Husband is the pastor. She like, nah, my husband. First of all, my husband cheating on me, but now he cheating on my old man. And he the pastor. And how does this look? And she just needs somebody to watch because he gone. And he was gone for like a good 3 days. She's like, what is going on? So baby girl stoops to the lowest of the low. She is desperate. She is desperate. And she stoops to the low of the low. And she heard word of mouth, heard about somebody who could help her with her situation. So she went to go to somebody who could help her with her situation. She goes to a
Nuh-uh.
witch doctor.
We not gonna skip over that. She went to a witch.
I said I was gonna get into
This
it. I was gonna
I'm
get
sorry. This Christian lady supposed to be believing when let me tell y'all something. When Tati picked this book, I told her, do not have me reading no witchcraft. I specifically said no witchcraft. What this I go to read this prologue. What's the first thing we got? We got this Christian lady up in here casting spells. That's her husband because she think her husband cheating on her.
wait. Y'all, to be fair, I was already in the book, and the book is mainly about vampire hunting. So when he was like, don't have me, I'm like, no, it ain't really that. It's vampire hunting. But how it started.
How it started. I specifically told this girl no witchcraft, but I'm like, maybe this is like the only incident, and she was like, well, it's really quick, so he can just like.
That's what because I wouldn't, it's so small. It's just the beginning. It's so small that I'm like,
Yeah, it's
and it
very
doesn't
small,
even,
and it doesn't really even go into detail.
it doesn't go into detail, and it's really not that relevant until later in the story. It's really not even that relevant. But she gets desperate. She goes to this witch doctor. She go and find her husband or find the man. And child, she performed this, not knowing what she was doing. And luckily, the vampire, what we found out, do we know? Basically, she get a stroke of, she don't get a stroke of luck. She do this in a moment of heat, being desperate, and the vampire and another spirit, they take this upon themselves to like use this as an opportunity, because I don't even know what happened. We don't know what happened with him at this point. We're gonna come back to it, but they use it as an opportunity, and he's like, oh my god, can't believe this is happening just because this one woman, just because of jealousy, which was crazy. He gobble her up, gobble gobble, gobble up, eat her up, and that's how it started off. I'm like, But then we get into the Molly. Excuse me. So after that, we get into the Molly, and she's performing. She's performing. I'm loving it. She rocking the stage, and she leave, and that's when we find out, baby girl is not just a regular artist. My girl's out here saving the world. Okay, she is saving the world, and at this point, I'm hooked. I like vampires. I'm hooked. We got into what the story was actually about.
I like Damali.
I don't. No,
I liked her.
let me stop. No, I ain't gonna lie, I really liked her. I think this book is full of likable people, to be honest. I think this book is full of likable people, and we gonna get to it. Because it's one moment I don't like. I ain't gonna lie, it's the moments I don't like. But it is a lot of likable people. So basically this is the opening scene, and something is off, and that's when we start learning about the Molly and her abilities. So she's a vampire hunter, and she has this crew, and they have different abilities. You could break it down the people if you want to, Ronald.
Oh, okay. Well, so like Tati said, Damali was performing at the club. She's about 15 at that time, and she gets discovered by these two guardians. They're guardians. They're Marlene and Shabazz. Marlene is the girl that Sarah called to watch Damali when she went off to go decide to be a little bootleg witch when she knows she a Christian lady. But
what she was doing.
being stupid. But basically, so Marlene and Shabazz, those are her two guardians that are looking for her, and they find her at the performance. And so then we get into the actual book, which is 5 years later. Damali's 20, and she has her crew. She has there's Ryder. Ryder is the white guy that be shooting all the guns. He's like in his 40s. There's Big Mike, who is, I forget what he do, but Big Mike is Jose's older brother.
They all have, oh, you can get into it. Sorry. I'm thinking about their senses.
Yeah, they each have like roles in the group with what they can do that's tied to a sense. So Marlene, she's a seer, so she like sees visions and stuff. Um, Jose is Big Mike's younger brother. He's around Damali's age, and he is the only one around Damali's age in the group. And he I think he has like the nose.
Yes. Does he have a nose?
Yeah, him and Ryder, they have noses.
Yes, because Big Mike is hearing.
Yeah, Big Mike is hearing. Then there's I forget what Shabazz do.
Child, me too. Have them lights.
For real.
Have them lights ready to go.
Have them lights and be bossy. I'm missing somebody. I am missing somebody.
Ooh.
JL, that's who it is. JL. I don't even know what JL do, because it's like he was just there to be there.
We all trying to figure out.
And then there's JL, and then it's some other group members that we're gonna get into in a minute. And then there's Dan. Dan is their I think Dan is their chauffeur. But he's not part of the
Oh no, he's their manager.
Hunting. He's their manager. Okay.
Yes. Dan is the manager.
Well, he's like a freelance manager.
Yeah.
But he's not part of the vampire hunting squad. He's just kind of like there to like help with the front. And so basically they're all this team of vampire hunters, and their front is a music company called Warrior of Lights Productions. I'm sorry. It's called Warrior of Lights Productions, and it makes me laugh because it's like that is just such like a like Christian films and Christian music. That is such a name from that. And I'm like, really? We couldn't be more, because it's like I don't think y'all putting out Christian music, so we couldn't be like more ambiguous with the name.
They say you know what it is.
But that's all right. But yeah, that's her squad. And so they're hunting. They were at another performance, and the book opened with them. They hunting a vampire.
Actually, they're at this point. So this part is where you kind of are getting the dynamics. The Molly, she is the new head. So Marlene is who used to be the head. She's the head, but the Molly is coming into herself. But at this moment, she's blind. She does not have any of her senses. She has everything. Like she's a seer. She can smell. She has all her senses together. But in this moment, she's blind. She can't. She just knows that something is up. Everybody feels the tension, but nobody knows what it is. And everybody's senses are blind at this moment.
And the reason Damali has all the senses is because she is the chosen one.
Yes.
She's literally the chosen one. She is is it pronounced Neteru?
I think it is.
So basically she's a Neteru, which in my book, they, like I said, they explained it at the beginning. But we're gonna go based off Tati's book, so we're not gonna get into it. We just know that the Neteru is special. And they're rare. Special.
And everybody else is her guardian to make sure she's taken care of. But she is, so they're having this scene and they're just worried. Nobody knows what's going on. But you clearly found out that Marlene is like also the motherly figure. And at this point, though, I'm like, Marlene, I'm rolling my eyes a little bit at Marlene because you're not nobody mom. Because I'm not in it yet. It's still the beginning. So it's like you not nobody mama. You kind of giving overstepping boundaries. But they get out there and they fight these vampires. And that's when we get into baby, these are some I Am Legend zombies. Them the type of vampires these are.
Yeah, these not regular vampires.
They not cute. They ain't got no style. Cause you know, regular they like we could smell them, we could see them. They don't have no style. They ain't got no class to do what they doing. Nothing. They just they stink. Vampires usually don't let you smell them, but and they had them in some type of weird time warp. And they're like, "What kind of stuff is this?" Well, we have a time warp. And so they're like, they go out and they get bomb rushed. Now, at this point, they know something is up because vampires keep coming after them. They went on the defense one time and now vampires keep coming after them. So they like, all right, let's get ready. But they were not prepared. And something that they were scared of, which is what ended up happening, is somebody else being there. Because when your senses get blocked sometimes, or you get shaked up, apparently, it could be because the vampire that you're about to go fight is somebody that you know. Excuse me. So they think they might see another member, which is Dee Dee, and that's when we get into them going out there fighting. And this is where I think it becomes very emotional. It takes a little buildup, but the actual battle, it gets really emotional, and you see how much everybody's really caring for each other, but how much this situation is also weighing on their life because they are artists. They are all creating music. That's their front, but that's what they're doing, and they're kind of getting tired because they keep losing people. People are dropping like flies. Dee Dee is Jose's ex-girlfriend, so she's young, dropped like a fly. We're
Dee
like,
Dee was
Jose.
well, so she became ex-girlfriend because of the situation, but they were together, and Dee Dee was a part of the group. She was a guardian in training.
And she got. So all of them are worried that they're going to see Dee Dee in this battle. The problem is the Molly don't care enough. It's not she don't care enough, but she's not connected enough to Dee Dee to be getting her senses blocked. So she is like, what is going on? This is weird. Like my senses have been getting better and better. I've been doing better and better, and now they're just off. So yeah, they end up having that nice little battle, and lo and behold, who pops up?
Dee Dee.
Dee Dee pops up, and they have to murk her. Now, Big Mike had already said, was it Big Mike
Yeah, it
or
was Big Mike.
Big Mike had already said, listen, I got your back. I know you might not be able to do it, so I got you because you get tempted and they call out to you because they want to make you the first thing not the first thing, but one of the first things they do is they go back home and they try to get other family members. And so they call out to you and tempt you. And so she's tempting him and calling him and he's stuck. So they have to kill her and they kill her in front of him. So baby, he's messed up. They get in that car, they go because these are not regular vampires. And they're already getting tripped up because the police are like, why weird stuff always happening? Which why weird stuff always happening? So they trying to have this front. But yeah, they have to kill Dee Dee and they make a run for it. They go back to town and they're like, yeah, Dan, we're done. We can't have him in situations like this because he want to pop up. He want to be a part of the crew, and he doing some stuff that's going to make him get killed. So we gonna just
What?
stop dealing with Dan because Dan, it's not safe to be around them. And
Oh,
Dan,
you saying in the hypothetical?
oh yeah, I'm saying hypothetically. Sorry, guys.
Because I'm like, wait a minute.
No, he wants to be around them, and it's just dangerous. It's dangerous to come to their performances because vampires are coming after them. Vampires are coming after them. And you get Damali's personality. She's fiery. She's spunky. I love her. Marlene is like the protective one in this story, what you see. And Jose is just a little baby. And he's so hurt by this. So everybody's just trying to watch how they're handling him when they go home. So they end up fighting them. They get through, but they end up getting in the car and having to talk it out and figure out what's going on because they're like, this is not regular vampires. Why we couldn't smell them, why we couldn't see. And this is the thing. Everybody was looking nervous because not only was Damali blind, most of them, their senses were knocked out. Most of them could not tell what was coming up on them. And that's a scary thing when you're in their field because what do you mean? So that's happening, but they make it through and we get to
We get to
Carlos.
Carlos.
I liked Carlos. But Carlos is one of those. He don't like to listen.
When
Yeah,
Carlos first showed up, I was like, what does he have to do with this? Why is he here? Because when you first, in my book, when we first get to him, he talked about how he done made it. He done came up off selling drugs. He's a kingpin now. And his brother don't understand the business. I'm like, okay, so what does it got to do with what we just experienced in the last chapter? And then we get to it. He wants Damali.
Mm-hmm.
He and Damali, they weren't a thing. They was close friends.
And they wanted to be a thing. They were drawn
And they
to each
wanted
other.
to be a thing.
But she was strong and she held back because she didn't like his lifestyle. That was going in two different directions. And so these police officers, they're like, they're trying to get him. They're trying to get him locked up because he's rise to fame too quick. He owns a club and he's still young. They're not even 21 yet. And he's owning the club and he's living his lifestyle running around. So police officers, they want to get him called up, but they can't. But they come to him because they find bodies. And the bodies so happen to be his brothers, his brother and his best friend. And them mugs are ate up. And that was the problem. That's when you realize the connection, not just with
wanting to be with Damali, but it wasn't his brothers. It was his cousins.
it was his cousin and best friend. Sorry. It was
His
his cousin.
cousins,
Hold on.
and best friends, they are she disappeared.
Child, I'm sorry. All I heard was Barnes and Nobles. Then I heard and you log on to Canva and you click this. I didn't know if y'all could hear it or not. So I was like, let me go turn it off because you what was that? Well, let me close my door. But yes.
We were talking about Carlos's cousins.
Oh, it was Carlos. Actually, it was his cousin.
They mutilated.
They are mutilated, and they're mimicking their wounds are mimicking the wounds that they saw on the other vampires they were killing. So the Molly and her crew had killed the vampires, and when you kill a vampire, their body turns back to how it was before they died, like when they died. So if I bit you, you're gonna have the little 2 bite marks. However, I messed you up, and they were like, "Yeah, this is weird." Because vampires, they're cool like that. They don't do the extra. But these vampires are biting off heads. They don't care how they leave the body. It's getting real weird. Like they tearing them bodies up. You could barely recognize the person. So Carlos is like, let me tell you something. Everybody that looked at me wrong, everybody that owe me money, he's dead. It's gone. He's going to war. He's like, what kind of even usually he don't get shooken up by nothing. But when he saw them bodies, he was clearly, visibly shooken up. And Carlos is tough. And he's like, pal, I'm getting all of them. I'm going to war. And me, I'm like, poor baby, don't even know. You not going to war with nothing. Poor baby, he don't know he not going to war with nothing. And I'm like, at this point, I'm making theories. I'm like, maybe he gonna, I don't know if he gonna team up. I'm making theories of how this is gonna match. So I'm like, are they gonna find like what's gonna happen with him and Damali? That's where I was with Carlos until we got back to Damali. How was you feeling about it?
I just, like I said, I was like, how in the world do Carlos fit into this mess? Because it just, and then once he said he wanted Damali, I'm like, oh, that's how he fits. And then Carlos, it's that scene when he goes to the hospital to basically see about the one guy that survived the attack.
Mm-hmm.
Because and the only reason he survived is because he had a cross on his neck. He had a little cross chain on. And that's why he survived. And everybody was freaking out when they saw him and they was all going off on him and stuff. I'm like, now Carlos, you know full well that you are the drug dealer
You are
that
not
employed all these men. You are not wanted around here. Why would you go to the hospital? But basically he goes to the hospital to check on the survivor, and the survivor's sister basically gives him the cross that the boy had on, and she's like, "Here, keep this with you, because
because
this
he
probably
needs
what saved his life." And Carlos is like, "Oh, it's just a piece of jewelry. It don't do nothing for me." But he take it anyways.
But he keep his own on. That's the tea. That's the tea. He had one always, and he traded it out to get a better one. So how is just a little? How is nothing? But you keep one on. Don't take it off. Mm.
So after we get through with Carlos, everybody, the vampire hunting squad, they done return home. They live in this compound. That like it's like a compound. It's constantly surrounded by lights, UV lights. It got sensors on it that can detect things beyond the human eye, and it got like these bars that like come down over the windows at night. It's like they are in jail.
Basically. And baby, they do a full sweep. They gotta make sure ain't no. They do a full sweep. They check to make sure ain't nobody get bit because they don't know for sure if anybody got bit or not. But nobody got, according to them, nobody got bit. So, but they sweep the car anyways to make sure nothing is following them because they've been getting attacked lately. Ever since they went on the defense, it's seeming like more and more vampires, and it's getting weirder and weirder. So they're like, okay.
They are in jail, and Damali is over it. She is like, my 21st birthday is in a few days. This is no way to live for somebody like me. So she calls a meeting to discuss what just went on and to discuss the fact that she is over it. And they
And
get to this meeting, and they basically talk about how the new vampires are different from the ones that they normally face. They said these vampires are like kind of like hybrid, like they got snake heads, they got spider bodies, and they got panther tails. And Marlene is basically like she basically delves into what went down into the prologue, but you know, she being Marlene, so she's not saying everything. But she basically talks about a little bit. This one we find out that Damali's from New Orleans.
mm-hmm.
And so Marlene talks a little bit about what happens in New Orleans and how she thinks that the vampires are a hybrid of vampire and the demon that Sarah, when she decided to be a bootleg witch,
But we don't.
Sarah that she unleashed. And
But
so go
mind
ahead.
you, she's not telling the whole story though.
Yeah, she's
So
not telling the whole
she's
story.
telling the part of it. So she's like, I've seen this before once, only in New Orleans. Um, but it's weird because it's giving demon, but they're like, no, a demon can only be in one place where it's supposed to be. It can't go outside of that space. So it's giving, they're like, it's not giving vampire. So that's how they start. They're like, it's not giving vampire. They got these weird body parts. They look ugly. Vampires don't stink. All this stuff. So they're like, okay, so it's giving demon low key, but no, demons have to stay in their place. So that's how they come to the
And so then I
they
had this theory. And then this one I had my theory. I'm like, did the vampire mate with the demon and create offspring? That was my theory. I'm like, so I think that might be it. But basically after the meeting, Damali, she go off to her bedroom. She is not happy. She's like, I just want a normal life. She was giving me Sailor Moon. She was giving me Sailor Moon. Y'all know I love me some Sailor Moon. That's my favorite anime. But she was giving Sailor Moon. I just want my own life. I just want to be normal. I didn't ask for this. I didn't ask to be a warrior.
And then it don't help that everybody else gets to go out. Everybody else going out. What you call Big Mike? I'm gonna go get me some ribs and go get me a little thing. Everybody talking about going to go drink. Everybody got their thing. Shabazz talking about he gonna go listen to some jazz. And the Molly like, and I gotta stay here. I can't go nowhere. And then Jose is like, what y'all not about to do is sit here and act like my girlfriend didn't just die. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
y'all not gonna act like because he's messed up about it. So he leave because he like what y'all not gonna do is act like she didn't just die in front of us and da, da, da. He is hurting. Y'all not gonna walk around this. So he
And
leave.
that's another thing. Like when they first put her down, like as soon as they put her down, and he's over there in shock, they basically like, oh, get over it. Come on, we gotta go. Move on. Move on.
Get in the car.
Don't think about
Check him. He got bit. Check him. Check him. Mm-mm.
like
Mm-mm.
they basically told that man, oh, don't even grieve her. Just come on, let's go.
And they
Don't
tried
stay on
what
it.
you call it. Ryder was trying to tell him. Was it Ryder or what's the other one? Is it RL? What's the other one?
I don't know. I just remember Shabazz being like, "Don't even just come on, don't even think about it. Come on."
But one of them have been through this before, so he was like, "I already understand. It's gonna be in your head. Let's just go."
It was. I want to say it was Big Mike. It was his brother.
And so they had already been through it or whatever. But y'all, he girl, hold
Jose go
on, baby
off.
girl. Anyways,
Jose goes off. He leaves, and then Damali go into her room, and she get in the shower. And I just got to say this real quick. In the book, it says Damali got locks. Do this look like locks? Do this look like locks? This how I've been picturing her, because this was on the cover.
me, I'm over here picturing with the locks because I ain't paying attention to that girl on the cover. I'm like, girl, not the hell. And at this point, y'all, she in the shower. She is frustrated because she like Big Mike gonna give him a little piece of something. Everybody get Marlene think I don't know about her sneaking around, but I know everybody
She,
sneaking
she think I don't know
around.
about her sneaking around with Shabazz.
But I gotta stay in the house. No, I want to be out. And she's been doing really good without being tempted. But she's like, it's one boy on my mind. Who's the boy,
Carlos.
y'all? And she's talking about him and thinking about him. And at this point, I got my theory that maybe he's gonna team up. I was thinking he was gonna team up with her when we got his part, but then when she started talking about him, I was like, oh yeah, they might team up because she was like, he has traits to be a guardian, but if he would never took the wrong road, went down the wrong path. But she in that shower, y'all, and
She's thinking in her head about her life and how she met Carlos when she was 15 and he helped her escape the foster care system. And basically what we talked about earlier, how she refused to sleep with him and stuff like that. But she in that shower and she get to fantasizing.
she's like, I wish I would have.
And the fantasy get a little too real. And it gets so real that she decides I can't stay in this house. I gotta go. She like I gotta get up out this jail. So she leave
Mm-hmm.
and goes to the hood to see her friend. Is it Inez or Inez?
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know. I'm gonna go with Inez because I think Inez is black.
Mm-hmm.
So she go to see Inez, and while she down there, she get a refresher on why she became a vampire huntress in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
She like, this is why I do what I do. I gotta protect all these people. She go down there, she go visit her friend, and she go back home, and she go to check on Jose. Oh well.
That man is basically dead.
Yeah, he is dying, and we find out the reason he is dying is because Dee Dee was pregnant. And she was pregnant when she was pregnant when she got turned into a vampire. And so the baby is kind of like what's what's the word? Connected to
Oh,
Jose.
draining him.
Yeah, it's draining the life out of him because they share blood. And so basically they're like, oh, we have to save Jose and the baby, or else Jose gonna die.
The baby ain't turned.
I think it did turn because it was in Dee Dee when she turned.
So
So
what?
it's like it's draining him, but it's draining him slowly.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing keeping him alive is them the group staying with him.
Mm-hmm.
And so basically they take him to the hospital. Um and Big Mike has to stay at the hospital with him.
And they find out about Carlos's cousins.
Hmm. And it
And
was at this point in the book. It was at this point in the book I was like, okay, we getting to the halfway point. When this plot gonna pick up?
mm-hmm.
Because I'm like, we 116 pages in, nothing happened so far except Jose basically dying. But basically they at the hospital working out a game plan of what they gonna do, but then like at some points it read like they was in the compound. So I'm like, are we at the hospital or are we in the compound? Where we at? But they was in the hospital. And I'm like, so we talking vampire hunting business in a hospital waiting room in front of all these people.
I guess they
But
said ain't nobody
basically,
gonna hear me.
yeah, I'm like, what we doing? But basically, Damali decides she gonna take matters into her own hands,
She said, I'm the lead of this group.
and so And so she's like, I'm taking matters into my own hands. I'm tired of being a vampire huntress. I want a life. So I'm going out. And so they decide that their next little club that they're gonna perform at is Club Vengeance, which is Carlos's club, because they want to get a lead on what happened to his men.
Yeah.
And this is when we start finding out about like the worldwide concert, which basically this concert that's gonna be simulcast from all over the world. And I wrote in my notes, is no one questioning blood music as being the source of all of this stuff? It's literally called blood music. And we supposed to be vampire hunters.
And we all beefing. All three of them beefing. Vengeance, Warriors of Light, and Blood Music. None of them are cool. They all don't like each other.
I'm like, are we not suspecting the label that is literally called blood music? And their whole motif is goth and vampires. Come on now. And so basically, the second time when Damali go out, that's when she goes sees Carlos.
Carlos made me so mad. So her trip to Carlos, she's trying to, and she made me mad too, because I'm like, girl, just tell the boy, because he ain't gonna listen. He not gonna, I knew Carlos was not gonna listen. So she get there, she like, what's going on? And so they go to talk about his cousin, because Carlos, he on 10. And when she started talking about his cousins and like, bro, just be careful. You still be wearing your cross. Keep it on you. He's like, what you know? Because she started scaring him. Because he's like, she acting like she know a little something. So when she really, and he walk up on her and she get ready to fight. So he really like, you thought I was going to hit you? Why would I have a reason to hit you? And so she tried to explain it, but she's not explaining it to him. So he's like, bro, I don't care who these people is. I got me a gun. Like, this cross ain't gonna do nothing. I got a gun. I'm gonna handle it. Because he's still thinking these are hood men. I'm like, so I'm still hoping, and I'm like, she gonna tell him, and they're gonna come together, and we're gonna have a battle or something. She does not tell him, and I'm like, Carlos, you better not take that freaking cross. You better not take the cross off. You better not take the cross off. You have no reason to take it off. And I'm like, bro, just don't. I'm like, if you don't tell him everything, girl, I just knew it. I'm like, if you don't tell him everything, wherever you don't want him to do, he's gonna do. He gonna be stupid. So I'm
I
like,
knew
yeah.
I knew she wasn't gonna tell him. I knew, because she's like, she trying to protect everybody. So she not gonna tell somebody some information that's gonna make them, number one, because he don't even know that she a vampire huntress. Number one. Number two, they haven't seen each other in about 5 years.
He was gonna hit the
So
pee-wee on her.
it did number
And be
three.
like, girl, stop playing.
It did number three. That whole conversation, I'm sitting there like, what are we talking about? What are we talking about? Because they go from flirting to talking to flirting to, oh, you thought I was gonna fight you? I would never fight you. Back to flirting. Carlos, don't take the cross off. Why don't I just keep your cross on and keep praying? I'm like, what is we talking about?
Because Carlos want him some to Molly. And Molly acting like she can't keep it together. That's what's happening. Because Carlos wanted to just flirt. Carlos is like, I'm not talking to you about business. This is flirting. And Damali is like, you need to protect yourself. So you see them going back and forth with the protection. And in that moment, she like, dang, I'm weak. I'm weak for this man. He the wrong. He a little bit too close.
And so basically, because Carlo did not listen, she basically like, just keep the cross on, and I'm gonna pray over you. And she leaves and she goes to see Jose. Jose is not doing well at all, but he's like, Damali, don't go out tonight. I have a bad feeling about tonight. Damali don't listen. She decides to take a Ryder, and they go out to do like a recon mission, basically to go to the hospital and see about the Carlos's men who are supposed to be turning in a few days, and the vampires. So they go out there, and while she out there, she catches the scent of the vampire that's supposed to be checking on them. And so while they y'all doing recon, Ryder gives her this blade called the Isis blade. And the Isis blade is basically this blade that's passed from Neteru to Neteru, and it has like stuff from all different cultures and religions in it, and they supposed to like it's like the Neteru weapon. And she was supposed to get it after she turned 21, but Ryder stole it for her before she turned 21, and they have a conversation in the car
This
where
the
he
part,
basically where he basically give her the talk.
this the part that pissed me off.
Oh, okay.
This is we entering, making me mad. He gives her the blade. She like, you know what? I don't even want it. He's like, come on now. Marlene, she didn't seen it. If she didn't want me to give it to you, you wouldn't have it. Right? Keep that in mind. Keep that in
Yes,
mind.
keep that in mind that
That she
Marlene
saw him take it. She let him take
allowed
it.
allowed him to give her the blade before she was supposed to get it. She's supposed to get it on her 21st birthday.
So she goes out and they have to talk, and then he's like, girl, you gotta do you. He having to talk with her because he's awkward about it, but he like, you gotta get you some. Go protect yourself and get you some. Because we all know. She like, it's that obvious? Yes. It's that obvious baby girl. So she's out. So they have this talk. She gets the vampire hunter and she kills them, but it's a lady there. And she's just watching, smiling as she's killing the other ones. But the lady is like, he's mine. You can't have him. And I'm like, after she get done killing and the lady run away. And I'm like, can't have who?
And before we even get to that, because it's some parts there might be the added scenes. So let's see.
Okay.
While they in the car talking, that's when Ryder starts explaining about like how he got into vampire hunting and how Damali reminds him of his girl Tara. They used to
Yes.
ride on the back of his motorcycle, but he ended up having to kill her because she got
Mm-hmm.
turned. And that's also how he met Jose. And I'm like, okay, so we get a little bit of backstory on them. And then that's when Damali start wondering why everybody acting weird about her coming of age, which you just talked about. And then she goes into that alley. And like Tati said, she in there fighting, but she's fighting them alone.
Yeah, she by herself. Eating
She
them
she
up.
tell Ryder, she tell Ryder, stay in the car. I'm gonna handle this myself. And so she in there, she going to war. She is beating up all the vampires. Here come Ryder. And Ryder was useless in the fight. He was useless.
Because these
He
are
got in
not
the
regular
way.
vampires. Not only are these not regular
No,
vampires, you don't got nothing to fight them with.
you the one with the gun that in the last fight got jammed.
And he ain't shoot the gun.
I'm like, Ryder, you just but let's give Ryder some grace now. The only reason he ran into the fight is because he told Marlene and Shabazz what was going on. And they told him, go after her.
Yeah, and get her out of there. So
So
in
he was
this
just following orders.
he was. And in this part, I'm like, she want Carlos? This one want Carlos or something? Who's her man? Who
For
we
real.
can't have?
Actually, no, that's not even because I knew who the vampire was talking about.
I'm like, I didn't because I'm like, who can she not have? The vampire? She don't want the vampire. Because it wasn't giving, and you could sense it in the scene, it wasn't giving, oh, you can't have him, like you can't murder him, like you're not gonna take it. Was like a you can't have him. You can't have him. He's mine type of vibe. So I'm like, girl, who is yours?
I think I it was pretty obvious to me who she was talking about because I'm like, what reason would she want Carlos for? Like, I think it was just let me say this. So you know how when I read my books, I put like the bookmark at the end of the chapter,
Yeah.
so I know when the chapter ends.
Mm-hmm.
So in my book, I folded my page on the last page. and I happened to read the last sentence.
Of the
So that's why I think that's also kind of why I knew who she was talking about. Even though now that I've read the book, it has nothing to do with this scene. We gonna get to that. But I was like, okay, I know who she's talking about. That's why I knew.
but I'm like, and I'm trying to figure out what does she mean by that. That's the thing too that was confusing because it's why do you have all this sass and attitude? For what? She's literally she's trying to kill the man. You over here talking about some like she trying to date him. So I'm like trying to figure out what that's about. And that's when we start getting information. Because Ryder is like, this lady is in the car and she going crazy.
Damali is.
And they like come back and Damali say, this man turned that car around, I'm gonna kill him.
Mm-hmm. And
she out for blood. She's out for blood. She's like, I'm taking this girl down. I don't know who she was talking to, but it wasn't me. And I'm like, girl, go ahead, because who's she talking to with all the attitude?
Like she wants to kill all of them to the point she just stabbed her knife through the car. Not even through it. Like you can see the road underneath.
To let him know if he stopped that car, it's gonna be him. And he was like, y'all heard that. And so that's when Marlene want to get to talking. And this is what made me mad. She want to get to talking. Oh, she going through this. It's bloodless. She got to ride it out. He like, ride it out. What you mean?
No, that was Shabazz. That was Shabazz who said
Shabazz was
that.
like, she got to ride it out. But still.
Marlene was like, come home, bring her home, come home. She don't know what's going on.
That's what happened. And it's like, she don't know what's going on because you haven't told her, Marlene. You haven't told her what's going on. So that's why she don't know what's going on. And so they get out there and he's like, bro.
They get out there, Damali hit the ground running. Like car ain't even stopped. She gone. She chasing the vampires down.
Taking them down by herself. Ryder still got them in his ear trying to talk to them. They like, and so he runs out there and somebody attack him. And he like, bro, whoa. So he thinks Damali saves him because Damali show up. Y'all,
no.
Damali can pop this man. Because then pop
That's the funny part. He gets attacked and he being held down. He trying to fight off the person holding him down. Come to find out, it's Damali holding him down. She is basically on top of this man, holding him down, got him pinned to the ground, so she can fight off the vampire that initially attacked him.
Mm-hmm.
She done fought that one off, and she's like, I had to hold him down so I could throw my blade because I had the other one in my teeth, and I'm like, she was out here doing it.
She hit the ground running. She ate them up, and they was like, okay, she gonna get tired when she come back. But they telling Ryder all this stuff, and I'm like, where was this at first? Why y'all waiting to tell this girl? And
then after she gets it out her system, they go home. And I think this is where I started getting a little annoyed with Marlene. Because we get to that house, Marlene go off.
I don't like her.
Marlene, I was okay with Marlene because I understood where she was coming from. But she just go off. She's like, Damali, you not grown yet. Who do you? It was that part for me. She's like, you are grounded. You are grounded until kingdom come. And Damali's like, first of all, I'm 20 years old. And then what really pissed me off wasn't necessarily Marlene. It was them. Let me make sure this is the right part. Yeah, it was them basically doing an info dump on her. Basically like, this is why we've been acting like this. I'm like, Damali is 20. Y'all could have told her this previously.
This is what pissed me off. She's like trying to fight her or whatever. She's like, try me. Marlene is like, try me, because we can fight. So Damali's like, this is my mom. I'm not about to fight my mama. I'm gonna calm down. I'm gonna chill out. Mm-hmm. And it frustrates me because you're getting upset with her and you're going off on her. And she's like, I knew you weren't ready for the blade. I just let you take it as a test run. But then why you let her take it? You knew it was too early. That's what made me mad. You knew it was too early, and you let her take it talking about it was a test run. No, it wasn't. You
Talking
just
about something, I
let
didn't
her
think you
take
was
it.
actually gonna have to use it.
I didn't think you were gonna have to use it. That's what when you do clownery, the clown comes
The
back to
clown
bite.
come back to bite. I'm
Because
like,
that's what
Marlene,
you
you let her
did.
take it thinking she wouldn't have to use it, but you also know that y'all are heavily being attacked by vampires right now. To the point that every time y'all go out, y'all get attacked. So why would you
And
assume she wouldn't have to use it?
she want to go after it, and then y'all dumping all this stuff on her, and it's like, and then what I don't like is you trying to make everybody feel bad because you held all that in.
And I like that
No,
Jose called her out on it. He's like, Marlene, I get you not wanting to tell Damali because you want her to be ready, but we your team and we know everything else. So why we ain't know this?
at least to prep us so we can
And I
know
wrote
what
that
to
in my
do.
notes. I'm like, Marlene, she blaming the team for not keeping Damali in the jail, but I'm like, where was the communication, Marlene?
And then
Where
Shabazz was
where was
like,
all
yeah,
the
that's why everything and you understand why she wanted to get out so much. He's like, everything she's at a heightened sense. Like, this is her heightened sense. So all her senses are coming in and she's feeling everything. And so
we learned that female Neterus, they get into it with female vampires while males are attracted to them, and it's vice versa. Male Neterus get into it with male vampires, and females are attracted to them.
and they conveniently leave that out for her. They leave that out, that part, which is the most important part.
Which
Because
explains why the
basically,
female vampire was all like, he's mine.
he's mine. And not only that, basically she has all this hiding sense, right? So that's why she was like wanting to get out, because she was feeling everybody else wanting to get out. She was like, dang, I gotta go. But also, she's gonna go into heat. So she's gonna be having the bloodlust and all that type of stuff, but she's essentially gonna go into heat and hunt down and seduce the male vampire. And her pheromones, another play, but her pheromones, her smell is so attractive that it's gonna attract the male. And and they're like, okay, and it's gonna lure her in to kill her, to kill him. Sorry, he's gonna lure him in and she's gonna kill him. That's what they say, but they don't tell her that. Because I'm guessing they only know one side, which I'm pretty sure Myrtle doesn't know just one side. I'm pretty sure she knows the whole side. Just like she found out, they lay on her that blood, is it bloodlust?
Mm-hmm.
Bloodlust. They lay on her that bloodlust is the company and they know who owns it. And he's a vampire. He's probably the head vampire. She like, let's go get him. Why would you even tell her if you don't want her to go get him?
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, listen, I'm grown. This is why I like her. She said, I'm grown. I'm going to go. Either y'all coming or y'all not. Because at this point, I'm the lead. You're going to have to let me lead. And you got to stop hiding so much stuff, even though she still hides stuff. So Myrtle is like, all right, whatever. They get to talk. They start crying because I was calling
Wait a
Nutella.
minute. We far ahead. We way too far ahead now.
Oh, sorry, y'all. I'm going. I'm going in perspectives because the book bounces back and forth from Carlos to her, and I'm going
It
in
do.
perspectives because we definitely skipped a part.
But like we skipped you at the end of the book, basically.
Maybe I sure am.
Marlene and Damali get into it. Damali decide to walk away because she's not trying to fight Marlene. And Marlene, she go to her room and she starts having visions. We find out, well, we found this out a long time ago. But basically, Marlene, she had two babies. She had her baby that she was pregnant with, and then Sarah left Damali with her. And so Marlene, she felt like she wasn't ready to be a mom to two babies because she was only like 19. And so she's like, I'm gonna give Damali to foster care and I'm gonna keep my baby. And so
They
basically,
said that in my book.
this is when we find out that Damali's father was not having an affair like Sarah thought.
Oh, baby, no, this is not the part. What are you
This
talking
is
about?
the part. This is the part.
No, it's
In my
not.
book, oh, then this must be an added scene. Because in my book, this is the part where we find out.
What are you talking about? No, it's
Oh,
not.
so
We all.
in my book, this is the part where we find out the truth about Damali's father.
Okay. Okay.
Um, but I said we was going off your book, so I guess we going off your book. This not the part.
No.
Just in my book,
No.
in Damali's vision, in my book, in Marlene's vision, this is when we learn the truth about what was going on with Damali's father and the vampire.
There's not even a scene like no. So
So she
we
don't have a vision in your book?
I don't know if y'all have this part, but it goes to Carlos.
To Carlos?
Yeah.
No,
No, not Carlos.
to
It goes
Alejandro.
to it goes to the brother.
His brother. Yeah. Yeah, that part is in my book, but it's after Marlene has the vision. And we get the truth about what happened
No,
with the father. It's not in your book.
no. That's
Oh,
not
that's
how
an
it
added
happened.
scene.
So you want to go? So what happens is with the we gonna go to the brother.
Yeah, we going to the brother.
The brother
So the
is
brother,
like
he
Carlos tripping, because Carlos going to everybody about to start a war, and he like, bro, Carlos is bugging, bro. I'm about to go home to my little shorty. I'm about to go, and I'm a love on her and go to sleep. So she like, oh yeah, let's go. Let me rock your world. He got on his
but take your chain off.
take your chain off,
Because
because
he got the cross chain on.
they all wearing it. They all got it. She like, why? He's like, why? She's like, oh, so I can get freaky with your eye. He take it off, eat him up.
Mm.
And then she tells him to bring her Carlos.
She's like, bring me Carlos so I can do him like I'm doing you. Because I got a score to settle with Fallon. Fallon is the vampire.
She just say, you don't know why she want him. She just say, come bring him. Dang. So she's like, come bring me your brother.
That's what I was like, though. I was like, what does Carlos have to do with you, what you plan to do?
Carlos here. Carlos is here. He taking everybody out. Damali is like, let me call him. Like she a little bit worried about him. That's where my part ended before we go to Carlos. She's worried about Carlos. She like, dang, I heard about all of this. Y'all telling me about this bloodlust. We all collaborating. Like it's getting weird. So like, let me talk to him. Hopefully he's still good. She trying to call him. She trying to go get him before he run out and do anything crazy. We get to Carlos. He already out. He didn't shook
Oh,
Debbie.
wait
He
a
didn't
minute.
shook.
We can skip the part in my book.
What part?
We can skip some, because after the scene with the brother, we get a dream with Damali.
What dream?
Oh, you didn't. Oh, you didn't have a dream.
What dream?
Okay, it's a dream. Damali have this dream. Basically, she because Marlene tell her she can't leave the compound, so she like, well, if I can't leave, I can at least fantasize about Carlos.
Yes.
So she puts on his shirt and she get in the bed. So
No.
she puts on his shirt and she gets in the bed, and basically in her dream the dream turns into the Garden of Eden.
Oh, baby, no.
Oh,
Where
you
she
didn't have
get his
this?
shirt from?
She had it. She just had it from when they was teenagers.
No.
Oh well. Here's an added scene. So basically in the dream, she's in the Garden of Eden and she imagines that Carlos is there with her. And so he walks up to her and he's like, and she's basically like, oh, they start feeling all up on each other and stuff. But she realizes that something is off because Carlos is like, oh, I need you to recognize me and let me in. And she's like, well, you're Carlos and you in my dream. And he's like, no, I need you to say my name. And she's like, oh, that's it. Well, then you must be missing my fantasy sessions. And so basically, she realizes something is off when Carlos starts speaking French because she's like, Carlos don't speak French. Carlos speaks Spanish. And so she realizes that it's a vampire in her bed. And she like, oh, wait a minute, how you get in here? And she's like, well, this is my dream. So maybe my subconscious conjured up a vampire to kind of like keep me on track. And so basically, she she and the vampire start talking. The vampire start promising her stuff. He's like, "Oh, I'll give you immortality. I'll make sure your family is safe, and all you have to do is have my babies." And Damali's like, "Have your babies? I'm not having no babies." And this is when we find out that this is the master vampire. This is the master vampire. This is the same vampire that Sarah unleashed in the prologue. And basically, we find out that this is not a dream. Damali is on the plane between heaven and earth. Well, no, between earth and the spirit realm. It's like a plane in between. It's called the astral plane. And so they are talking, and Damali's like, "Oh, well, I have no problem killing you," but she's like, "But I can't kill you." Oh wait, no, the vampire's like, "I can't kill you because you haven't let me into your life," and Damali's like, "Well, you can't. You ain't never gonna let me in. You're not ever gonna be invited in." And basically, the vampire's like, "Okay, well." Just so you know, this is the astral plane, and I'm in charge here. And next time you come here, now that you know that it's the astral plane, next time you come here, that's as good as an invitation. So all bets are off. And he's like, and when you wake up, you're not gonna remember none of this. And so basically, she wakes up, and so he leaves, and she wakes up, and she like, what the heck just happened?
He just made me. This is a whole different book. Ain't nothing that happened. Ain't nothing.
You didn't,
None of that
you didn't
happened.
have that scene?
None of that happened. Now, what did happen is in one of her fantasies, or either when she was with Carlos, she realized that she offered Carlos her neck. Like she had
Yeah,
came.
that's the first fantasy. That's when she's in
That's
the
the
shower.
first fantasy in the shower. That was the only fantasy. It wasn't no other fantasy. That's one.
Yeah,
Two,
this must be an added
two,
fantasy.
two. We go straight to Carlos. We don't get none
Yeah,
of that.
my book does not go straight to Carlos.
We go to
After that,
Carlos.
after that fantasy, we have some more before we get to Carlos. And we
Child.
go,
Every time we think we gonna have a 2-hour video, every time we think we gonna have a short video, we be like, it's gonna be simple. It's not that big of a deal. It's not gonna be long. It's a simple book. We only doing one book this month.
let
Turns
me
out
just tell me where your book picked up with Carlos.
no, because what we missing?
So like basically
It's
we
like,
had to go figure out our lives and figure out we was missing why we was having a disconnect. And it's because Miss L.A. Banks decided she wanted to be an editor and go back and rewrite some parts of the book.
and move it around.
And reorder some things. So basically in my book, after Damali gets done facing off on the astral plane with the master vampire, we get this scene where Shabazz and Marlene they're talking. And basically Shabazz is just telling her, "Oh, Marlene, you gotta be patient with her, you gotta accept what you can't control. You know she has to make the decision on her own as a vampire huntress. And you just need to accept that." And Marlene, she just having a hard time accepting it because she being a mom. And so after we get that scene, Damali, she wakes up and she feels like crap because of the dream, well, of the encounter that she had. And unlike what the masked vampire said, she do remember it. She does remember the encounter. So she feels like crap. And she start eating some chips, which Marlene do not want her to eat because Marlene's like, your body needs to be pure. You can't have no preservatives, no nothing in your system. And I'm like, Marlene is a helicopter mom. But basically, while she eating her chips, Marlene comes and gets her and tells her that Carlos is on the phone. So they get down there and Carlos on the phone and they have their conversation where Carlos basically tell Damali, hey, they got my brother. I'm just calling you to let you know. And I'm calling to let you know that if anything happened to me, my lawyer has been instructed to give my family this much stuff, and he's even been instructed to give you some stuff. But you need to make sure that if something happened to me, you go get what I left for you because you know how people are. And basically, Damali's like, Carlos, where you at? Tell me what's going on. And Carlos just hangs up. And then this is where we get into the part where I got upset
So
the
for
first
me,
time.
the phone rings, and it is Dan, I believe. No, it's not Dan. The phone rings and it's Carlos, and he's saying they did Alejandro where it happened at the house. He tells what Ronald said. It's the same thing. It's like, what happened? And then she's like, tell me where you at. Like, she's telling Carlos, like, bro, tell me where you at, tell me what's going on, tell me what's happening, because I hope you just don't do nothing crazy. And so Carlos hangs up and she's like, she grabbed her stuff and said, right, she grabbed her stuff. She's like, bro, I'm leaving. And everybody grabs her. And she's like, bro, I'm getting out of here. And then she's like, I just woke up and she feels like crap. She feels like she had a hangover. And they say they say, oh, that's what happens after you have a big hunt. Like after you have a big hunt, like you had, you crash and you feel terrible. And she's like, oh yeah, I feel terrible because like that doesn't like after she feels, and they say it, she feels weird about it because she like, I ain't never feel like this after hunting. And he's like, no, it's just because you had your bloodlust. It was so much going on. So that's why. And he was like, that's the crash. Roddy was like, that's the crash and burn. And so it's too loud. This is when they feel her. This is when she tells them everything. She's like, he going on a suicide mission, so we need to go get him before he start war and do some crazy stuff. And then he's like, and then they're talking about what was going on. And Myrtle tells a story, and she's like, when it starts for me was in New Orleans, and then it goes to different places, and then we cool off for about 20 years. So that's what she lets her know what's going on. She's like, that's just before. So Damali is like, that's just before I was born. She just tells her all of what's going on. Like, I've never told you this, but you need to be stabilized. You need this. And she gives her she fills her in on what she filled the guys in on. And then after that, like her name, and she tells her that how she's gifted and how she's the Notori or whatever. Nateri, whatever it is. And she just tells her all of that. And then after that, and like about guardians and stuff like that. And after that, we go into her conversation with Dan. And we talk about Dan, and because he just got fired and he needs a reference.
Yeah, so basically that's how it go in my book. They tell her that she's feeling hungover because of the hunt, but she also is kind of like feeling not rested because of the encounter on the astral plane. And this part we learn about like who we in my book they fill her in that the vampire that she was fighting is a queen second. And basically she explains the encounter and they're like, oh, it's a queen second. And I'm like, well, what is a queen second? But we get that later in my book. We find out later.
In my
And
book,
basically and we find out that the queen second is basically challenging Damali for the master vampire. Well, they don't tell us that, but to me it was pretty obvious that was going on. So that's what I wrote in my notes. But they're like the master vampire's nest is like rapidly growing and it's going beyond their usual population limits, and we're concerned about it. And this is when Marlene gives the full like what basically like Tati said earlier in the book when Damali and Marlene got into it. Damali left and Marlene told the guys all the info. And so basically at this point in the book, they're all telling Damali the info together. And it pissed me off because I'm like, y'all all knew this, but y'all didn't tell her because y'all like, oh, we wanted you to enjoy being a kid. But I'm like, how? Oh, enjoy being a normal kid. That part, a normal kid. I'm like, Damali is fighting vampires. She's not normal. What normal person out here fighting vampires? The girl not normal. I'm like, y'all basically like, oh, we wanted you to have a childhood. I'm like, no, this girl is literally out here being prepared to be a vampire huntress, and y'all are keeping vital information from her.
Now
This
she got
information
like
she
3
needs.
days to process
If
this.
she got 3 days instead of what the time that y'all could have given her, like over the years, now she got 3 days, and y'all basically like, oh, you need to know all of this in 3 days and basically be okay with it. I'm like, no. And guess who mouth that came out of? Guess who mouth it came out of? That she had 3 days to get her life together and figure it all out.
Not Shabazz.
Shabazz, the same man when they done killed Didi in front of Jose. Come on, get over it. We ain't got time. Y'all don't have time because y'all don't take time. Y'all don't have time because y'all don't take the time. Y'all try. Anyways, so and this is when we also get more information on the worldwide concert. And basically, they feel like the worldwide concert is a front for a major attack from the forces of evil because they say the cities that it's supposed to be simulcast from, when you connect them, it makes a pentagram. And they're like, oh yeah, no, this is a front. And so Damali, she's like, well, Marlene, I know you're the one who basically made everybody else shut up. So why you ain't tell me about this sooner? And Marlene is like, basically Marlene is like, you'll get the truth. And when you can read my mind, basically, when you're strong enough to read my mind, then you'll know.
Yeah, she says that.
And I'm like, Marlene, just tell the girl the darn truth. This is when Damali's basically like, look, Marlene, you keep bringing up New Orleans. I want to go down to New Orleans and investigate. Marlene's like, no. Damali's like, well, I'm grown. And y'all keep saying it's my choice. And so basically, since it's my choice, I'm going down to New Orleans, whether you like it or not. And you either come with me or you stay behind. And that is what it is. And then that's when we get into Dan calling them up.
And this is where we start looking at Dan.
And basically Dan, okay, there we go. And Dan is basically like, okay, I know y'all to have some financial issues. I know y'all told me y'all gonna get my money to me when y'all can, but I got bills to pay. And so Blood Music, they done let me know, hey, we got a position for you over here, but all you have to do is get Damali to agree to performing at the worldwide concert. And Damali's like, oh yeah, sure, I'll do it. And everybody just start going off all at once. They're like, no, don't do it, don't do it.
It's at Club Vengeance. And it's bloodlust.
And Damali's like, y'all just said it was my choice. And I'm like, this is the perfect time to do this. And Marlene start freaking out. She's like, no, because it's on your birthday and you're not ready. And Damali's like, well,
I wonder why.
And Damali's like, well, my birthday is the perfect time to do it, to get it just all over with once and for all, so I can have a good birthday. And so then after Damali's like, I'm gonna do it, Shabazz and Marlene, they have an argument. And it's Shabazz who's actually against it this time. And Marlene is like, well, it's her choice and she has to make the decision. You know that. And basically Marlene, they get upset. Damali goes to find Carlos. We get a scene with the master vampire, which is Fallon, and he's basically talking to the Queen second, which is Raven. And so we basically Raven is like, oh well, you're trying to take Damali to take my place as the queen. And so since you taking Damali to take my place, I'm gonna need something in return. Since I'm not gonna be queen no more. And basically Fallon is like, okay, well name your price. And she's like, well, since Damali taking my man, I want her man. I want Carlos.
I knew she wanted Carlos. Oh, never mind. Let me stop.
And so basically Fallon Fallon's like, okay, well, if that's what you want, you can have it. And so Raven's like, it's this, and it was funny to me. Raven's like, okay, well, I'm hungry, I ain't ate. And so Fallon, he like scratches his wrist to like feed her, and she's like, oh, and that's another thing. Raven gave him all this valuable information about Damali. She's like, oh, I know how she thinks. I know how she smells. I've learned all this information from sleeping with Carlos and his men, and I've absorbed all that they knew about her. So she's like, I got all this valuable information for you. And she's like, and in return, I want Carlos and I'm hungry. And so basically, Fallon, like, he like cuts his wrist and he's like, okay, here. And she's like, I just gave you all this valuable information. You gonna give me your wrist to drink from? Are you serious? Because what she wanted was his neck. That's what I missed. In the fantasy, the vampire, he like attacked Damali, but he couldn't do no damage. And so basically he just pinned her down, and Damali, because she couldn't use her arm, she decided to bite him in his throat. And he gets up and he's all laughing and he's enjoying it. And she's like, oh my gosh, you like being bit in your throat?
He's like, oh girl, I am a vampire. What is you talking about?
She was like, what in the world is going on here? And so basically, Raven, she sees the bite marks and she's like, oh, so you gonna give me wrist to eat from, but you didn't gave her your throat.
She said, oh, that's how we doing it.
That's why she was so upset. She's like, oh, you gonna give me wrist, but you didn't gave her your throat. After that, that's when we get to Carlos.
My man Carlos. I'm like, this man gonna die. He driving around town. He done ran everybody down. And he go to meet up in the woods, the usual.
Talking about some, I like the woods because it's quiet and you can't hear nothing out there. Carlos, come on now.
Here's where we have the problem. Here's where we get the problem. This is where all the different people come, and you see he's like, dang, we got the Chinese, we got the and he's saying why it couldn't be the different people because they all on different fronts. We have the Chinese, the Jamaicans, the Russians, these all of them together, which matches the story of that they're telling with the worldwide and stuff like that. It's like the vampires usually they stay in their own territories, but now they're meshing as an alliance. So you see that, and he meets up with them, and I'm like, Jesus.
And he's like, it's not just no random men. These are the heads of each territory. Like these are the head drug dealers of each territory.
So they like, here the two men. You know, like, well, how did they do this to him? They're cops. They're FBI. He's like, well, they're the ones who ordered the hit. And so he's like, well, get him.
And Carlos, and they bring out Raven, who's in the form of a panther. And they're like, this is how they did it. They used this panther to kill young men. And Carlos is like, oh, well, they'll die the same way. So Raven kills the first one. And Carlos is so like disgusted at how it went down. And he's like disgusted, but he's also in awe because he's like, oh my gosh, this is real power. And so he basically like, you know what? This a little too much. Just kill the other one. Just kill the other one in a normally, just 2 shots to the head. And Fallon's like, oh, you want it done normally? All right. And so he reached into the back of this man's head and pull his I'm sorry, and pull his spine out. And Carlos is like, what kind of demonic mess is this?
Then the man says, oh, it's martial arts. And Carlos is like, oh, okay. Carlos, what martial arts do you know that pulls somebody's spine out their body?
That's that Mortal Kombat martial arts.
What martial arts do you know? I'm like, Carlos, think, Carlos, think. So then he's like,
I'm sorry.
All right.
Hold on, because it's just the way I pictured it. It's like that man said, oh, you want it done normally? Okay.
Boop.
And I'm like, wait a minute.
And so Carlos is like, they like, listen, we gonna kill these men for you, and we actually gonna give you money. You ain't even gotta give us the money. We gonna give you money, but you gotta join us. He like, you think you rose to power by yourself? Think about it, Carlos. We helped you do that. And if you stop, we gonna take our hands off you. We ain't gonna help you no more. So he like, shoot, I get the money, the dudes die. What I gotta do? So he like,
and they're like,
Fallon's
like, bring us the girl.
He like, you can have any girl that you want. I really don't care. I get all of this. And then they're like, all right, Carlos, now take off your chain.
They're like, oh wait, hold on. They're like, give us the girl, you get the money, and you get the power, and you get Raven. Keep in mind, Carlos still think Raven is a panther.
So he's like, okay. And they're like, but we'll house it. Okay. We'll house it and feed it. He was like, so I get this panther and I ain't gotta take care of it. Carlos, think you're a businessman. Does this not sound too good to be true?
He's not thinking.
Think, Carlos. So I'm mad. And I'm like,
so Carlos
in his head is like, but this is the thing. Fallon never, because you're a businessman, he never says what girl. He's like, just give me your girl. Carlos is just like, oh, whatever girl I got, you can have, because I don't care about none of them. So I'm like, all right.
Think
then they tell him take off his crucifix. They tell him take off his cross. Carlos,
what did Damali tell you?
What did Damali tell you? What saved your brother? Why all your brothers all wear crosses and all the ones that died don't have on their cross?
But no, he like, oh, it's just a piece of jewelry.
I'm getting away with my old life. Baby, he threw that jewelry, they got him. But he said a prayer.
It's a twist. Yeah, he basically Fallon's like, come over here and seal the deal. So he go over there and each of them kiss his face like the mwah, mwah.
Yeah.
And so he thinking Fallon gonna do that too. And Fallon's like, oh, you gonna love this. And he basically break Carlos's neck and bites him. But for some reason it succeeds, but it fails.
Is yeah, because Carlos says the prayer. So Damali, when she was like, she prayed over him and she told him to say a prayer if he feel like he in danger. Keep his crucifix and say a prayer. He ain't keep the crucifix, but he was like, oh, I'm really dying. I don't know if I like this. So he said the prayer real quick. So he was like, so he came back just like this. And he was like, how he come back like that? I was like, how he come back? And how he got a prayer in his heart. Who claimed him? Because he died with a prayer in his heart. Who you think claimed him?
Fallon like, what is going on? He dying with prayer in his heart. He got a crucifix in his pocket. I can't use this boy. What's going on?
And the
And
crucifix burned
basically,
now. He like he
and
felt in his, that's how he knew. He felt in his pocket. And he was like, hold on.
it's like, what is burning me?
And so at
And
this point,
Carlos like,
that's when
what?
they tell him the truth. They like, oh yeah,
We
we tricked you.
vampires.
Gotcha. We tricked you. And
We
guess what?
vampires. And you won too. You dead.
And so he basically, but he doesn't tell him. Does he tell him to bring him to Molly? I don't think he does. He just
Not
said
yet. Well, no. He just says bring me the girl.
the
Actually,
girl.
no. After after they reveal that they're vampires, Fallon takes him to Blood Music to show him the extent of his
Uh-huh.
wealth and stuff. And basically, towards the end of the tour, Fallon offers him a drink of blood, and Carlos takes it and throws it at the wall because he thinks Fallon is playing with him. And Fallon gets pissed off about it because he's like, how are you able to resist taking a
Mm-hmm.
drink of blood from me? So he basically takes Carlos back to the woods and he's like, Raven, you feed him because I'm not feeding him until I find out how he's able to resist me. And maybe next time he'll think about resisting drinking his master's blood.
Mm-hmm.
And
Which
so basically he and Raven they feed and they have relations.
and then he be like, he was like, get out. They said they was gonna have DFEs. She was like, I could do anything. I could be with you. He was like, no, I don't. And she got even more of an attitude. I guess it makes sense why she got even more of an attitude then, because she's like, bro, okay. He's like, get out my, please leave. I ain't come here
And
for you.
so then Damali she goes to find Carlos and it fails. She can't find him. So she come back home and she start writing down her little spoken words. No, not her
Mm-hmm.
little spoken word. She started writing her spoken word. I thought it was good, and I was mad that Marlene came in and interrupted it. I was like, no, I want to read the rest. But basically, Marlene and Damali they make up, and Marlene basically explains to Damali, "Oh, I was just very overprotective of you because of what I was going through, and I'm sorry." And they make up.
And she's like, this is a moment, a sweet moment for them, because she kind of calls her mom or something. She's like, you think of me like I'm your mom? And and Marlene is like, I've always wanted a child. And they have a sweet little moment of like mother-daughter moment.
And then they have that moment, and Marlene is like, "Take you a bath, a special bath,
It's your
and
choice.
it's all your choice now." And basically, we go back to Carlos. He and Raven get done, and he realizes he can't access Damali's thoughts no more.
It burns. He could see her. He could still see her. Like, I guess he was seeing her before, because she's in his thoughts. He was dreaming about her just like she was dreaming about him. And that's the thing. I thought he was gonna be a vampire hunter too. In the beginning, I'm like, they're gonna work together. He might turn out to be a guardian or something. Cause
Yeah, because when Fallon bit him, he's like, "Oh, this one was marked to be a tracker guardian." I was like, "Carlos, you could have been a guardian."
mm-hmm. He was marked. There was like somebody
I mean,
marked
you
him and he
just
died. He died with in my book, it was like he died with a prayer in his heart. He like, who marked him and then
yeah.
he got a prayer in his heart. And what is going on?
It said it said the same thing in my book. And so after Carlos and Raven do what they do, Carlos gets summoned to hell. They're talking about he going to meet with the Vampire Council, but the Vampire Council is housed in hell. I'm like, Carlos, you done gave up your soul.
And didn't even know it. Didn't know the terms and conditions.
Talking about some, oh, I'm gonna go to hell one day, so might as well live it up now. And now he really there. He like, wait a minute, this not what I thought it was. And I'm like,
baby, tell me what you thought it was gonna be. But even when he died, he went hard. He was like, okay, I don't care about dying. And he died. He said, wait a minute, let me say this prayer. God, thank you, Jesus. Please have my back because I don't know what's going on here. So they take him, and he's like, what is
your
this?
back was not happy.
And they like, listen,
he get down there.
This what's gonna happen to you if you don't go through that door and answer that call. That's what this is. So he go in there and he answered that call.
And this is where Miss L.A. Banks lost her for. This is what she lost her for. I'm gonna get more into it after we finish discussing this. But basically, this is where we get like all the info on what's going on in Tati's book.
Yeah, in my book, this is where we get the information and everything comes together. And I'm like, oh. So Carlos gets down there, they're talking to him, and they're like, yeah, Carlos, Fallon. And this is when we find out that Fallon is the same vampire from before. Like, not Fallon is the same vampire, but we find out the truth about everything. So we get to the end, and they're like, Fallon, he turned you. He not supposed to turn you. He escaped. He not even supposed to be up there. Somehow, on a stroke of luck, this man escaped because he's smart. And he
actually
not only,
wait,
so
we
this
missed one part already. He was on the vampire council, but he decided to oh, don't tell me the reveal is different too.
Wait, no. I think he was in the council, but what happened is what
He was
they
on the
said for
council.
us is that because they were talking about the Notori, and he was like, Carlos Master was Dracula.
No,
And
not
they were
Carlos
like,
Master.
Dracula spent
Fallon's
his
master was
time.
Dracula. Fallon's master was Dracula.
Yeah, Fallon's master was Dracula, and Dracula spent his time searching for the Notori. They thought it was a myth. They didn't think it was anything real but Fallon kept tracking her down. He kept tracking the lineage. And it was like the last Notori was so bad that they had to, for thousands of years, like punish the generation, and they're still pretty strong, hinting at certain colored people. But he was like, so we can't have this happen. And he was like telling about Fallon though. He's like, Fallon took first of all, he took a clergyman. He hunted down the line, took a clergyman, which he wasn't supposed to do, that died with a prayer in his heart. No, he didn't die with a prayer in his heart. He didn't invite you. Have to. It's your choice. It has to be your choice. And he took him without him approving it and accepting it. So he had already said.
And this is where we learned that Damali's father was a vampire hunter in her book. In my book, that was explained a long time ago in the vision. That's where I found out that Damali's father was a vampire hunter. And we find out that he wasn't having an affair. He was hunting vampires, and he thought he was strong enough to do it by himself, like Damali. He thought he was strong enough to do it by himself, but he quickly found out he was not.
So he just didn't want his wife. He was hiding it from my book. It was like he was hiding from his wife. And then he was like, then the woman, so he got banished. Fallon got banished for that. Closed up. The woman do something in Fallon's house, and he took the opportunity and got out. Then he said, not only did he do that, then he ended up killing this pure woman who also died with a prayer in her heart and killed herself before she could turn. But he also took her without her permission, and she an innocent soul. So he didn't double messed up. Then Fallon
and the reason why they so pissed off about it is because even though they died like that, they still, I think they went to heaven.
Yeah, because they didn't.
They're basically like, and they're basically like, you added to their army.
You added to because it wasn't their choice. He didn't accept. You have to approve it. That's why they keep saying it's your choice. And they died with prayers in their heart. It's all of that. So they were like,
and we find out that Fallon's vampires are not, as I originally was theorizing, of them being like offspring. We find out that they are vampires that Fallon turned, and then their demons are possessing those vampires.
Yes. That's what Minion, that's what we found out what Minion is. Minion is his gang of people. So he made a bond. He made a bond with the demons, with the demon that was in the house, so that they can use those vessels to do the work. So then Not only that, though, he has vampires turning vampires. Only like a second and third generation cannot turn nobody, but he's letting them run amok. So he's like, he already muddying the waters because you're not supposed to do that. And then he's like, so then they talk to Carlos and they like, listen. And then he taking the Notori for himself. We were supposed to all split it. Because if the Notori accepts it and has a baby, the baby will be their side, on their side. So they like, yeah, that's what we wanted. But he want to take her off for himself, and that wasn't a part of the deal. So listen here, we saved you because not only did you die with a crucifix, you died with
And
a
prayer
prayer
in
in
your
your heart.
heart.
So you are a triple, double, quadruple case that shouldn't have happened.
So we took advantage of that.
So we took advantage and we turned you early, which honestly, I don't even think they could turn him because at the end of the day, he died with like he wasn't theirs. They couldn't keep him because he died with the prayer in his heart. Like before because you know how the mama, she killed herself before she could turn? Same thing. But
They like, we turned you early. And Carlos, he get a little beside himself. And he's like, oh, well, basically they're like, we turned you early and we want you to take care of Fallon for us. And in return, we'll let you be part of the council.
And you get to have the money. Because you gotta bring
you
her
get to have
part of the deal.
And you have to bring the Neteru to us. And Carlos is like, oh, well, what's the girl name that I need to bring y'all? And they're like, Damali. And he's like, it can't be Damali. It can't be. But basically, like, they're like, oh, bring her to us and we'll give you all of this. And Carlos is like, oh, well, I want to go over the terms a little bit. And they're like, oh, you must not know who you're dealing with. So let's show you what happened. Let's take away our protection and let you experience what it's like without our protection. And they took it away. And Carlos learned very quickly that he was not special enough, special enough.
And then but at least this is where he started getting some sense. He started getting a little bit of sense. So he like, in the vampire, they said, look, you got 3 days and you're going to experience that after them 3 days if our deal is not done. Go ahead and go. So he was like, all right, listen, I'll bring her to, give me the terms first before I bring her to you.
He's like, I'll bring her
in the language because they gave it to me. Like, I can't read this.
Yeah.
Give it to me in a language I can read. And so he's just stalling, trying to give them like, because he's like, oh, y'all know her. I could get her. Anyway, this is one part though where he's thinking, he's like, oh my God. And it was like, not in here. Not in here. You're not about to
don't say his name in here. They're like, don't say his name in here. I'm like, say it. Say it. Wipe all of them out.
Trying to get us reprimand. You trying to eliminate our whole species.
I'm like, please eliminate the whole species. Bye.
I know that's right. I know you is. And he like, dang, I gotta bring. But he thinking of a plan. But I'm like, knowing LA Banks, I want Carlos to do good. But I'm like, she gonna hurt us in the worst way. I just feel it. I feel like she gonna hurt me in the worst way.
Well, I'm not gonna know because I ain't reading the next book.
You can't. I'm reading. I might read the next one.
I'm gonna get into why in a minute. But basically, Carlos, even though he learned his place, he still manages to bargain and basically like, I'll bring y'all the girl and then I'll sign the contract. And in return, y'all get Damali and I get protection for my family and my brother and my cousins and my best friend. They get to die.
Excuse me. Because he was like, your brothers, them brothers, they gonna hunt your family down. But they're third generation. So third generation vampires, they don't turn people. They turn them insane. They make them murderers, stuff like that. That's what happened. He was like, so they ain't gonna turn. But basically, they're gonna give them a generational curse. Basically.
And Carlos like, I'll give y'all Damali if y'all just basically kill them and protect my family. And that is how the book ended. We just finished telling y'all about this book. And now we're gonna get into why we rated it the way that we did. We probably rated it the way that we did because Miss L.A. Banks decided she wanted to write 2 separate books and give us 2 separate versions. So that's number 1. Number 2, my issue with the ending and with this book and why I got a 3.75 is because I feel like this book right here, Minion, I feel like it stopped in the middle of the story.
I knew you was gonna say it.
It
I
did
knew you was gonna say it. I feel like I
because
know what you're gonna say.
it literally stops right in. I'm like the the first half of that book. I'm like, okay, this is setup. This is good setup for the plot. And I'm like, okay, so it's moving a little slow, but it's good setup. Stuff start stuff start acting up, and I'm like, okay, the plot is acting up a little bit, and then it just kind of like stops right after Carlos in that meeting. I'm like, where's the rest of the book? Where is the Molly coming into her own as the Neteru? What's going on? I'm like, this book should have ended with the battle, with her fighting Fallon, or at least having her first battle and her coming into her own as Neteru. But no, it just stops. We don't even end with Damali. We end with Carlos. But then, I'm not gonna lay the blame on LA Banks. Because what happened was I went to do some research and I discovered that Miss LA Banks did not write a 286-page book.
Ooh,
She
this.
wrote a 750-page book.
Mm-hmm.
And her publisher told her, no, ma'am. And I'm like, you know what? That explains why the book literally stops in the middle of the story. Because the publisher stopped it in the middle of the story. This was supposed to be a 750-page, one and done book. That's it. There's like,
Harry
no.
Potter.
Not even
And it
like,
gives those vibes. If Harry Potter could be 700 pages, this could have been at least
shoot,
400. You could
if
at
y'all
least
can
get
get,
us 400.
and I know some of y'all gonna get mad at me because I know y'all like to tussle, but it is what it is. If y'all can give Sarah Janet Moss 50, 11 different 700 plus page book, actually her books be like 900 plus pages of nothingness, But this lady couldn't get a 700-page, 50-page book to tell us the full story. She got to break it up into 9 books. I don't even want to read the second book because the ending for this one pissed me off that much.
And it's like, you know, when you read Eric Jerome Dickey, like at least how, what is it called? Friends and Lovers was like the parts. Y'all could have did that. That would have been cute because this feels like a part. This feels like the first part of the
Yes,
book.
it feels like the first part,
Y'all
which it
are
probably
lying.
was.
Y'all are lying for doing 9. 3 should have been max. I might read the next. I'm probably gonna read the next one.
And
But if she do that recap mess, I'm putting it right down. I'm putting that book right down. I'm not playing with her. Especially if I got 7 more books to read after the next one. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing it for 7 more books, baby. But I think I really liked it. I ain't gonna lie. I really
it was. Look, like I said, she had a 4 till we got to that last chapter, and she lost. She lost 0.25 of a star.
And he still, and it's the crazy part, he had still had the extra scenes that kind of let him know more stuff than me because I was on edge. I'm like, what we doing? What we doing? But yeah, my girl got a little higher score, but that's why, y'all. That's why she got that's why she got a higher score for me. But also, that's why she got that lower score. That's why that's why I kind of feel like, that 5 is hard to getting upper parts of the 4s is like, baby, where's the rest of my book? All right, y'all. So that was our thoughts. Okay. We had our thoughts. So if you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up if you want to see some more book swaps. Let me know if you ever read LA Banks. What do you think? What some books maybe we should be reading? Make sure y'all go subscribe to Ronald's channel. Make sure y'all also pick up his next book, which is The Disappearance. Y'all, The Disappearance. The Disappearance.
Shoot, don't look, listen. You cannot get The Disappearance if you don't get the first one.
Hold on.
You got to get the first one, okay?
Get Creek and then get The Disappearance, which is the second book for Creek.
If you don't get the first one, you're not gonna understand nothing going on in the second one.
Get the first one, then get the second one, y'all.
Get the little in between book too.
The summer vacation. If you like romance, get the summer vacation, baby. Get the summer vacation. But even if you don't really like romance like that, but you like a little bit, it's a healthy amount. It's a level amount for everybody. I don't know if y'all heard that, but that's okay. Make sure y'all go over to Ronald's channel, check him out. He be on it. If you love books, go ahead, go to his channel because he gives out the books regularly. What we doing right now, he does regularly, and he has a little twist. Okay. One thing, if y'all don't know, we both do these videos, but our editing style is a little bit different. So what you get from me is not gonna be the same thing you get from him. So go ahead and go over to his channel, check it out, check out other books that he's reading because he keeps it on there going. Make sure you share this video so we can get more people to this potato family. We can get more people into this book swap. Okay. And last but not least, y'all know what y'all gotta do, right? Y'all know what you gotta
subscribe.
do. Come
Y'all
on,
gotta
y'all
subscribe.
subscribe to my channel. I can't even say so you can grow with your girl. And so you can grow with your girl. And so you can grow with your girl. Break it down. Break it down.